The Fighting Illini win 92-34, and I don't even think the game was that close. Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode, the second episode of this fine Monday of Locked On Illini. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Simple reminder, you can find us on your favorite audio platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Pocket Cast, whatever it might be. You can find us on your favorite social media. Just do a quick search for Locked On Illini. Say hello to me. We had some good conversation in the Locked On Illini Discord today. Jason, I see you in the chat. If you don't mind, see if you can drop a link in the comment section. Otherwise, I can a little later. If you'd like to join the conversation during the game, we were talking about some hot takes I might have for future episodes and just talking about the Illini in general. The reason being, this game wasn't much to talk about by itself. But before I get started, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, again, this is a live episode, so I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Let's hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. I'll get to that in the next segment. I'll run through the box score real quick, and then I kind of want to entertain a thought that I was having, kind of at the end of the game once we all saw some of the graphics that they were showing on the Big Ten network. Let's start with Illinois, of course. Kasparas Jakucionis, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Trey White, 16 points and 8 rebounds. Avicic, double-double again, 16 and 11. Will Riley, 13 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist in 24 minutes. Those are the only notable ones. That Javaman, I think you guys recall I brought Shaps on for the post-game a couple of games ago. He pointed out something very interesting to me. Kylan Boswell took a shot in the first couple of minutes of the game, and then that ended up being the only shot he took all game long. I just found that interesting. I don't know if it means anything. Everyone else played like you should play against a team like Arkansas Little Rock. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of ready for the Big Ten season to start. For me, it's like these games are fun, and I understand the idea that they just want to build. And we need these games. Okay, this is very selfish of me talking about. We need these games so that our guys have minutes on the court together, just to get to learn how each other plays and where these guys are comfortable. Which spots that they like to shoot from, et cetera, et cetera. Having said all that, this team has only played 6 games together, if you include that exhibition match. So sometimes you just need easy games. But a question I have for you guys, and again, I'm going to get to the comment section later on. Is this a better defensive team than we all thought it was going to be? Now, granted, I know we gave up 100 points to Alabama, and I talked about that in the postgame. You never want to give up 100 points to anybody. But when you play at the pace that Illinois plays at, and that's basically doubled when you play a team like Alabama, who really, you're talking about two of the teams that are like mirror images of each other in the style of play that they like, the two coaches, what they like to institute into their programs. So, it might be a little aggressive for me to say this after the last 2 games we've had compared when you talk about the opponents, right? But that graphic that they showed me at the end of the game, where Illinois has now held back-to-back opponents less than 40 points for the first time since 1947. Now, I can't quickly look up the box score from the previous game. If someone else wants to, I would appreciate it. But I just want to take a look at this game in particular. Arkansas Little Rock shot 13 for 55 from the field today. 23.6%. Now, they have a couple guys on their team that could play at the Big Ten level. So this is not one of those, like who we played 2 days ago on Saturday. That was kind of embarrassing. That was kind of one of those, just a snoozer of a game. You can tell clearly that these two programs are on completely different levels. And I don't think any of those guys on their team would have been able to get 5 minutes on a good Big Ten team. But Little Rock is different. Arkansas Little Rock, they're projected to be one of the better teams in their conference. And so, I just want to talk defense a little bit. And I want to hear what you guys think afterwards. We know that Illinois is going to try to score 90, 100, 110 points every single game. And so I think because we saw how poor the defense was last year, and if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we heard Brad Underwood talk about this after the exhibition matchup, right? Where he said, I think a couple second graders could score 70 on this basketball team. In a lot of ways, that might have just kind of reinforced what our opinions on the defense was going to look like regardless. But I'm starting to think a little bit differently. Obviously, this team, what they're trying to force you to take mid-range shots, right? Just poor percentage shots. They'll live with those. They'll guard you at the three-point line, and they try not to give you something too easy. But they try to force you to take shots that, players in the mid-90s NBA would take. Okay, here, I'm aging myself with that reference. But when you look at our lineup, and they showed the graphic, we're the fourth tallest team in the country. And again, this was the conversation we had in the Discord. I think that's by design. Even if you're not together a good defensive team, when you have length, that's almost an extra skill that you have, right? It's just length will bother other players. You can have a skilled 6'2" player, but if he's being guarded by a 6'5" player, even if that 6'5" player isn't the best at defense, just those added 3 inches can disrupt the skill of that 6'2" player, who's going to make his shot that he's taking a little more difficult than it needs to be. When you talk about Kylan Boswell, when you talk about, and I'm talking about like even poor defenders like Ben Hummerkaus, Avicic. What do Avicic and Hummerkaus have in common, though? They do seem to be pretty high IQ players. And sometimes half the battle of defense is just high IQ. If you know what the game plan is, if you know where you're trying to strategize to have the opponent shoot, maybe that in itself can lift the floor of what your defensive team is going to look like. I know we were poor at defense last year. I thought we were going to be worse this season. Everything that I heard about, it looked like Brad was going to really just go all in on the offensive side, make it, just continue to put on the pressure offensively and make the defense be basically a really good offense. But now we're, 5 or 6 games in, and I'm starting to think that we might be a better defensive team than last year. Trey White, Kylan Boswell, those are 2 guys who really get the job done on the defensive end. Sure, I already mentioned Boswell a little earlier. I wish, again, I'm okay with Boswell just taking on a super role player role. And that's, again, a conversation we had a little bit earlier. But one shot, maybe I'd want a couple more than that. But Trey White, he seems to be doing everything that Ty Rodgers did last year, right? Except for Trey White also provides an offensive game. Today, 6 for 12. How many games would it take for Ty Rodgers to shoot 12 times last season? He had 8 rebounds today in 21 minutes. I know Will Riley gets all the love, and he should. I brought up a tweet. For those of you who follow me on the Sunny V on Twitter or Locked On Illini on Blue Sky. I'm going to be doing an episode later on, either this week, probably later on this week. I think this is the hot take. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think there's a potential of this happening. I think Will Riley, if he wanted to, could lead the Big Ten in scoring. And I'll elaborate on that in a little bit, in a future episode. But let me know what you guys think of that thought. But before I get started on my next thought, I do have to run this ad real quick. College basketball season is well underway, and let me tell you, there's no other experience like watching your favorite team at the home stadium. When you're looking for tickets, make sure you start off with the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite team play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. All-in pricing, toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So, Arkansas will be a test on Thursday, which, by the way, I know it's Thanksgiving. I know I'm at home, but just know I will be doing a live episode immediately afterwards, a post game, because, again, you guys keep living up to your end of the bargain. Please just hit that like button, that subscribe button. I keep getting that support from you guys, so it's easy for me to continue to provide content for you daily. No days off here at Locked On Illini, including Thanksgiving. I'll be watching the Bears game at noon, and then immediately afterwards, the Illini. Hopefully, I can go 1 for 2 at least. I'm not feeling promising about the Bears beating Detroit, but definitely right here. Join us on the Discord. I posted the link in the chat, and I'll have the link in the description. The Arkansas game is going to be an interesting one, and I'll tell you a couple things that I like from today that hopefully will move forward to that Arkansas game. I think Derek Piper put it perfectly on Twitter. It doesn't seem like Arkansas Little Rock liked Kasparas Jakucionis all that much. They took a bunch of cheap shots at him, just a little punches here and there. And what I really like to see was not just Kasparas' line for today, which, again, I mentioned earlier, but in 28 minutes, he scored 21 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 for 9 field goals. Scoring 21 points on only 9 shots that's the type of efficiency that you want. But I got to see Kasparas chirp at Arkansas Little Rock. He got a technical, but nobody was upset about the technical that he got. It was a fantastic play where he went end to end and he scored. And then, he let his defender know how he felt. Got a technical immediately afterwards. But for me, I've talked about this before. Once I saw Kasparas commit to the Illini, I want to basically watch as much tape of him as I can out in Europe. And that glimpse of him yapping at Little Rock is what I saw in those games in Europe. He was vocal. He was loud. He had, again, how else do I phrase it? It's like a killer alpha type of mentality. I hadn't seen that here in Champaign. Sure, his numbers are getting better, and he had a pretty solid game against Alabama. But what I wanted to see is the mental side kick in. Hey, I know look how good I am. I know how good I am, and that's trouble for you. And today you kind of saw a glimpse of that. And we're going to need that from Kasparas to beat a team like Arkansas, which, again, is or isn't important. That's up to you guys. But more importantly, we're going to need that side of Kasparas to win games in the Big Ten when that season starts. So him being able to bring that part out was nice for me to see, and I hope it carries over to get to the game on Thursday. Will Riley shot 11 times in 24 minutes. This kid is not afraid to shoot. And that's why I say that I don't think there's a single team in the country that on a good night, this Illinois team won't be able to beat. I think Will Riley, by the time Big Ten season rolls around, the game will have slowed down for him. Right now, he still acts like he's playing a little too fast. That he's like the little brother when you finally let him play with the big brothers and his friends, where he's trying to show off a little bit too much, but he knows he's good also. So that's why whenever he gets the ball, he wants to shoot it, which I have no problem with. Because again, it's obvious a guy like Kasparas, he likes to defer. He doesn't want to be the aggressor. He doesn't want to be the number one scorer on the team. So who is going to be? If it's Will Riley, we're in real good shape. A month from now, a month and a half from now. Right now, again, he's still going to have his struggles, but he's a freshman. That's just naturally going to happen. Avicic, like what else can I say about Avicic now? The surprise of the Big Ten, well, maybe Tanji out in Wisconsin. Those two are probably the biggest surprises in the Big Ten Conference right now. Avicic, I still say right now, is probably the most important player that we have. Just because I don't think anyone else can duplicate what he does. And in a conference full of big men, I think he might be the best big man in the Big Ten. And again, that says something. As these guys get better and play together more often, it's Kasparas' mindset that, hey, it's time for me to take over. It's time for me to let you guys know that even though I pass the ball a lot, when I need to score, I'm going to score, because that's demoralizing to a defense. We saw it last year with Terrence Shannon Jr. He did the same thing. On a fast break, if Terrence had the ball, he put his head down and he attacked the rim, and there's not a single defender on that court that wasn't basically just closing their eyes and hoping for the best. Kasparas is not going to be that type of Terrence Shannon Jr. But if he can do it on plays here and there and at least keep the defense honest, honestly, I think we're going to be in really good shape. You guys know my prediction. I think my hot take was, we might lose these big out-of-conference games, but I'm not going to be worried about that. Because I think the way we're projected, or the trajectory of this team right now, is that we could and we will win the Big Ten Conference. And honestly, 6 games in, I believe in that even more at this point. Your comments right after this. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, as usual, in the last segment of every post game, I go to the comment section and see what you guys had to say about the game or the show or me, whatever you guys wanted to talk about. Jason says, let's talk about 1 through 8 or even 9 players. We're deep and we're actually getting better defensively. Yeah, I mean, I talked about that right off the bat, right? Like, I genuinely think that this team has a higher ceiling defensively than I originally gave it credit for. And if that's the case, with what we already know about what this offense is going to look like, I mean, my expectations just continue to get higher and higher for when Big Ten season rolls around. So I know some people are already upset that Illinois fell out of the top 25. Who cares, guys? It's November 25th. None of this matters. This team is super young. They're still figuring it out. Right now, what we want to see is, do we see what these pieces can eventually turn into? And for me, the answer is an emphatic yes. Kenny, thanks for dropping by. It says, did well playing passing lanes, putting a body on rebounds, and going over screens. Absolutely. Now, again, I know the talent level isn't what it was, what it's going to be against Arkansas or the Big Ten, but still, you like to see good habits. Caitlin says, that was fun. Absolutely, Caitlin. Thanks for stopping by. these blowout games, you still want to keep the pedal down to create habits. Yeah, see, we saw what happened in the game right before Alabama, right? Oakland, where we just kind of sleepwalked through that game. I think we were projected to win by like 22 or something like that, but I think we won by like 14, 15. And none of us thought that we were going to ever lose that game, but we obviously just didn't play up to our abilities, our potential. It really seemed like it was one of those where they just wanted to get the game over with. And this is both sides. So you didn't see that today. Not that you saw a killer instinct today, but you just saw a team like, hey, we're a lot better than you. We got 40 minutes to just show the world, and then we got to prepare for Arkansas. And that's kind of exactly what they did. Jason says, this team will have bad games, but no question we are young and the talent is there. Yeah, I mean, I've said this. Like, this team can lose to, Ken Palm 200-plus teams this season. If they have an off night, I can see that happening. But this same team on the very next night, I genuinely believe can be the top 2-3 teams in the country if their shots are getting better. Seems like they're getting more confident together. Curious to see how the Arkansas game goes. Yeah, Caitlin, I completely agree. I can't wait for that game. I'm more optimistic than I was a week ago. But again, it's not like the competition has been too high the last couple of games. So we'll see. These blowout games, you want to keep the... Oh, yep, we got to that. Scott Meyer says, Trey White is a baller. Exactly. Trey does, again, he's starting to show up in the box score a little bit more after the last couple of games. But, the voices are loud about Will Riley, and I totally understand why. Will Riley, right now, it looks like we need to just all enjoy what we see out of Will, because I don't think he's coming back to Champaign next year. But he's not the player that he necessarily thinks that I think he's going to be eventually in the Big Ten. And so, he's like a young buck who's just growing into his frame, growing into the speed of college basketball. I think he's going to be great. But right now, Trey White is giving us everything. Trey White is the reason we don't miss Ty Rodgers at all. And this is coming from a big Ty Rodgers fans. My everydayers in here know this. Even before the everydayers, like before Locked On Illini started, and I was hosting Illini Cast every week. I used to talk about how I loved Ty Rodgers games when I watched them in high school, living in Chicago, to here. But Ty Rodgers would have no role on this team. And tell me I'm wrong. Where would he play? He wouldn't. Trey White does everything Ty Rodgers does, but he also is a threat on offense. Caitlin says, hopefully Morez can keep out of foul trouble against better teams. It's pretty fun to watch when he's out there. Absolutely. I think he's got an all Big Ten future ahead of him. Not this year. As you mentioned, it's hard for young big men in particular to stay out of foul trouble in this physical of a conference that the Big Ten is. But I had high hopes for him coming into this year. And I've told you guys, I know people who watch every single practice. And they told me that even if Avicic wasn't cleared to play, the way Morez Johnson was playing, the staff was actually excited about Morez Johnson as the starting center. Now, granted, Avicic has blown our expectation completely out of the water. So we're certainly glad that he's here. But you can see that my contact wasn't lying. Morez Johnson has a real future here in the Big Ten. Exactly. That's just part of being a freshman. Jason says the Discord, everyone should join. We chat during the game. It's a fun time and good fans and not bashing our teams. Unless they deserve it. Right, Jason? We will. And by the way, the link to the Discord is in both the chat and I'll have it in the description at the end of the show. Again, we just have a good time. William says ESPN has an Illinois win percentage at 68.6 against Arkansas. Okay, I didn't predict that. Now I'm very curious to see what the spread's going to be when that game comes out. Right now, I predict Arkansas to win, but maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Thanks for bringing that up to my attention, William. Right, Jason, liking some of the players. Kenny says, I think we're going to be a great defensive team because I think they're starting to do all the fundamentals correctly. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to say great, but we don't have to be great. If we can be below average, if somehow we reach average with the way our offense is going to play, we might only lose 5-6 games all year long if we can reach average. We just don't want to be terrible. We don't want to be horrendous because, again, I I'm confident this team can score 90, 95, 100 points every single night. The problem is, do we let up 85, 95, 105 points every night? And earlier on in the season, I wasn't sure. I wanted to see more. And now that I've seen more, I'm starting to be a little bit more optimistic. And I genuinely think that this defense might actually be better than the team last year. Arkansas only beat them by 12. Yeah, that's true. If we're going to compare, team by team, apples to apples, we beat them a lot more comfortably. Jason says, I saw a stat during the fourth. We are the fourth biggest team with length that will get that when we get it all together will help. Exactly. I referenced that earlier. Good to see Trey White and KJ taking it to the rim, depending on matchups, and more. Ivicic will play well together. Yeah, Trey White, Ivicic, those are two of the veterans on the team, right? Alongside Kylan Boswell. We see the superstar potential in Kasparas and Will Riley. But when the going gets tough and we're playing in tough venues, we want to have the guys who've experienced that before to just help set the tone for the rest of the team, to calm everyone else down. Philip says Auburn and Iowa State is entertaining. I was focused on the Illini game. I'll have to watch that again. Jason, thank you again for the the promo. Let's all join Sunny's new Discord. Trust me, it makes games a lot more fun knowing we're chatting with good friends and dedicated friends. All right. Tyler, also says the Discord has been a lot of fun. Butilla says, Alpha Kasparas is much needed. Need to get Boswell growing. Exactly. Alpha Kasparas. That's what we need. We know Kasparas is a really good basketball player. But I saw Alpha Kasparas in Europe. And I think if Alpha Kasparas comes here in the Big Ten, if there's one thing we're lacking from last year's team, it is that killer instinct, right? And maybe this is a good topic for a show that in the future. Who on this team has that killer instinct? I thought for sure it was Kasparas. I just hadn't seen much of it in the first 5 games. I absolutely saw it today. And I hope that this is just a glimpse of what we're going to see moving forward, and in particular on Thursday. Jason says he still has high hopes for Boswell, in particular in the big games. I agree. Oh, I like this, Kenny. I like this and I hate it because I hate him. But Kenny says Ivicic is a Big Ten's new Hunter Dickerson. Yeah, and looks like Jason agrees. Okay, let's see. Jason also says, look goody, miss you, my man, the Illini legend. I will agree, Ty is missed with his passion. Okay, Luke says, Trey has way less of a motor than Ty. That is so evident. Yeah, but motor can only do you so much on this team. Especially the way that we play our offensive style. We need 5 guys on the court that can shoot. That's why Ivicic is so important. Because he's a big man. He's 7'1", but it's not like Kofi where you have to throw it into him next to the basket and he makes a couple moves and the offense just kind of stalls around him. It's actually quite the opposite. Basically, you can continue playing your free-flowing offense, pass the ball around, and find the right shot, even if it's Ivicic, who really isn't afraid to shoot the three-pointer. He shot how many today even? He was 1 for 3 from three-point land today. The Illini together were 10 for 31, shooting 32%. We shot 44% from the field, 32% from three-point field goals. Today, we at least hit our free throws, 22 of 26, 84.6%. And that's obviously something that we're going to have to make against Arkansas. We've talked about this before on this show. We got to figure out this bugaboo with Brad Underwood and free throw shooting with his basketball teams, because it really is a concern, and we can't be giving up free points, especially early in the season, especially against really, really good basketball teams. Those points matter, and they could be the difference between a victory or a loss. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. I appreciate all of you for tuning in for this post game. Again, I do this live after every men's basketball game and every football game. We only have one left on Saturday against Northwestern. And again, if you guys want to, I can even start doing this after the Illini women's basketball games. By the way, the Illini came in at number 19, which is the highest in the Shauna Green era I'm telling you, if you guys aren't watching them, you need to. They're a fun team. They're full of veteran players right now, but even better than that, if you think the Illini men's basketball team is recruiting well, Shauna Green just had the 7th best recruiting class in the country signed. And we're talking about multiple 5 stars. I can't wait to see this team mature. I want to thank you all for joining me. And until next time, ILL love you guys.